get my followers and to stay in touch with them. And like Janice, at the end of the day, it's who I am. I touch all those areas. And I'm lazy that way. Shannon, you have 2 though, don't you?
I know, but I forget that I'm 2. You know, so I feel bad. I feel like I should tell people who are following Twitter at Shannon Latham, don't bother because
Yeah, I
I
have
forget.
that name. I have Janice Person, but I don't ever use it.
Yeah, I don't use it. So, because I think you're right. To me, the whole work personal blurred, and yeah.
Yes, ma'am.
I have a question just for anybody and everybody. I heard that rural internet connection was an issue.
Yeah.
And is is that slowing down the number of farmers who might be on if it were different?
I think that's why you see the rise in mobile so fast, because in the mobile world you can get a faster speed. You don't have to rely necessarily on your local broadband. You know, I believe, I'm going to start numbers here, and that kind of gets me in trouble, but we have pushed for rural broadband connectivity for years. There is the U.S. Rural Broadband Association out there, and I believe the President and Congress, maybe Congress, had authorized, I believe it was $6 billion to go to connect rural America. We think, and I think you all would think this too, that becomes the great equalizer. If we could get that done, and you know, if we can get this done, then rural folks with great things to sell and talk about can then be on a level playing field with our neighbors in urban areas. I mean, why would it be that a rural person would pay up to $169 a month for high-speed internet on a satellite?
And it's not even high speed.
Yeah,
No, it's not.
It's not even high speed, and you get cut off after
Right.
so much usage. I lived on the farm, the family farm, and the only choice we had was HughesNet, the only choice.
Exactly.
And they cut you off after a certain amount of download or upload.
I have trouble on my phone though with mobile. Like
Yeah.
there are times when I can't get cell reception to call my husband or in the barns, and so that's been a real issue for me. I don't do as much on my phone. It died while I was sitting here. The battery died. So I don't do as much on my phone, like with Twitter and stuff. And I think that's because it's 3G, it's not the 4G, and we don't have so that's been a real issue for me.
I think it's also a problem, though. It's not just for farmers. I think if you had been at 140 Des Moines or 140 small town,
Right.
you'll find it's an incredible issue for education. Children in rural areas are not able to access things that everybody else can in the rest of the world. And I will tell you, it's an absolute injustice to our children not to do something about that.
I encourage you all to blog and Twitter about that.
U.S.
I don't think I've done one, so I will.
Go ahead and Google that. I believe it's the U.S. Broadband Coalition that's out there.
I would say it's spotty because my husband and I, we got married almost 5 years ago, and we live in the middle of nowhere, and we have excellent internet at our house, and our half of the county has an excellent internet provider, and the other half of the county, where actually everyone else that's here from Franklin County lives, they have a bad provider, but our half of the county has a great one. We've always had.
But
I
you're
have better
also-
internet service than my sister does that lives in Des Moines.
You're also
So.
closer to Interstate 35 too, so you get, I think there's more reception areas along the interstate as well.
I'm in Kansas City, that's where I'm from, and they just launched Google Fiber in Kansas City, and if you haven't looked it up, I encourage you to check it out. It's gonna be like the fastest internet in the world, but it's spreading
A
from
little
Kansas
expensive,
City.
isn't it?
Actually, no, when we get it, it's going to be a ton cheaper than my Time Warner bill. So it's really cool, but I know, that's obviously a very urban area, but the cool thing is I think it's really situated in the heartland, and it can work its way out from there, so the technology is coming.
I was just going to add, it's not just a commerce issue for the reasons we're talking about. One of my clients is a bike shop, is a vendor for RAGBRAI, and this year was the worst year in years for cell access for RACRI.
You know what, does it seem to, it's worse for us when it's hot and humid though, so I wonder if, seriously, when it's hot and humid, the turkeys stink more and the cell phones stink more.
I wouldn't
It's been a long
doubt that
summer for
there,
you, honey.
and that's probably true too.
Yeah, I don't know,
I
I
think
got this
about-
theory about airways
Yeah, I
and
think
stuff.
about 25,000 people coming to our state
Yeah.
and what a poor impression that they
Yeah.
take away when we don't have good technology.
Yeah.
And he still had, he had a great experience, you know, I helped him get up to speed with Twitter and whatnot, and he had a great experience, but we lost part of our opportunity because no one on the ride could
Yeah.
do Twitter.
I think it may, and we will look back at this in 10 years and laugh.
Of course.
Because it's almost like the crank-up phone at the farm, you know? But as fast as all this is moving, it is kind of interesting. And I wonder if it's the sheer number of people that are crowding the bandwidth. For example, at the Iowa State Fair, the phones are dying pretty quick out there because they're constantly searching out there for signals, even at 3G. So it'll be interesting to see how this discussion takes place in 5 or 10 years.
Harry,
Yes?
did you have any questions? I want to make sure, I'd like to know what
Don't
you
know
thought
Deb
of
and
that.
sit in the crowd and not ask a
Just
question.
know, I want to know what the price of corn is going to be.
That's right.
Any one of these people can look that up for you. Anyone else?
I have a question, can I ask?
Absolutely.
So I just wanna know, and I don't know, how long do we have to order to bring home the bacon shirt? Because I need to order one.
Just until, they run out, we only have extra large and double XL left.
Oh.
I came straight from.
I know, she was
Yeah.
running away. But 87 Central is right in Des Moines, and they, our first 140 conference, they provided shirts for the speakers, so they do a great job. I like that you used a local company. And that's another thing I think as farmers and as people in the ag industry, is that we should support local businesses. So I encourage you all to do that. Did you have a question?
Yeah, I'll have one. This one, I'm gonna pick on Stacy a little bit. She was one of my professors or teachers, I guess, once here. My question is, how do you reach to someone even younger than like my generation? So even further, you're probably the closest to individuals like high school students, like my sister who just got her, acceptance letter to college. So how is this gonna change, or I guess anyone, how do you think it's gonna change? Because that's, Lord help us, that's a whole brand new group of people and attitudes and all that.
Expectations.
And expectations about everything. So I would be interested to see.
Well, I think it's important, the College of Ag itself is always looking at doing that. I mean, that's what their focus is always on, those kids that are those sophomores, juniors, trying to get them interested in coming to Iowa State. So for us, it's really nice that we can piggyback on a lot of things that they do, and they help market our program because they're trying to differentiate Iowa State from other universities. And our College of Ag has this, and there aren't currently any other universities that do, so that works good for us. But on the same thing that's great for us is on the Facebook side. I look at my freshmen that came in last year, and we have a lot of them that became very active, and they start talking. And I think like Calvin and Jordan, and so then they start talking, and they start, all the kids that they're still friends with and still in FFA with and involved there. It kind of spreads the message there from seeing these kids getting involved and having successes and winning the National Agri-Marketing Competition was big for them, and so they can see these things, and it kind of helps recruit into our program. So it's a great thing that's why I like Facebook, especially for the students, is it creates that web and pushes your message out, three levels out compared to an email, which they never read.
My friend's daughter just got accepted at ISU, she's 17. They didn't send her a letter to tell her, they emailed her a video and gave her the embedded link so that she could put it on her blog and the link for the Facebook page. I'm like, wow. And it was the dean of her school, and I mean, everybody that she would have direct contact with her name on it, welcome, and it blew me away, 2 minutes, and I'm like, wow. things have changed.
Yeah, the video thing has become so big. I see one of my clients in the audience here. Hi, Chad. Chad Meyer, Backshield Co-op back there. And with the interns that they work with every summer, they do lots of YouTube videos. They feature them in their magazine. I know that they're out there on your blog too. Chad, do you want to say anything about what has worked well for you folks with the younger generation?
Honestly, the number one thing has been hiring the right student the first time. Okay, which it's that face-to-face. Okay, probably the most effective thing for us at Iowa State has been we've hired really good ones 4 years ago, and for the last 3 years they're telling all their friends about how wonderful the experience was, and then that just keeps playing out. The second biggest thing was YouTube videos, and believe it or not, traditional website. Okay, I mean, we just started doing Facebook, we just started doing Twitter a little more than we had in the past, but believe it or not, just standard website and having information and job postings and links to those videos was hands down the best thing we did, because it said I go to other companies and they don't even talk about interns, they don't even mention. So even just, you can't overlook just the traditional stuff. If they're really interested in you, or even moderately, they're going to find ways to seek you out. Traditional websites today for them may not be the number one thing, but it's still very important, and it's worked very well for us.
And if I could add to that too, I think the biggest piece is in terms of the next generation is really diversifying content while integrating content as well. So you're going to go to different things, right? So if I had a crystal ball, and I wish I did because I'd be retired by now, but you know, Facebook stock isn't great. So if you take a look at Facebook and where it's going to be in the next 5 to 10 years, it's likely going to be a completely different platform. But mobile isn't going to change. So mobile is only going to amp up and amplify. So how we look at tablet devices and mobile devices, you know, my brother gets a smartphone, and I look at my cousins who are getting into middle school and high school, they're not even getting a regular phone, it's immediately a smartphone device. And what they're using is location-based services as well. So as we think about location-based services, how can we deliver content to them that's personalized, right? And then it's localized to their exact area, so that way it feels like a much richer experience for them too.
And I have to say, most of the teenagers I know are far smarter than most of us in the room, in terms of screening out stuff that they don't like. Yeah. So if they don't want you to interact with them, you will never interact with them. So you have to make every interaction count. You've got to be there, because otherwise they hide you, they block you, all those kind of things. And they set up their privacy screenings a lot more detailed-like than a lot of grown-ups I know, and they understand what they're setting up. And so they really do choose who they're going to see what from in a way that makes it so that if you're not presenting messages that are easily accessed by them, then you won't make it through. So I think part of the social side of social media is going to be more important than it has been with people that were media-oriented and went into social media. I think the social side is growing more.
I read an article and it was great. It was talking about how to think like a gamer. And the whole idea was that, I mean, I grew up thinking, you know, give me the manual, I'll read the manual, then I'll do it. And then what kids today, they just do it. They play games, they die. They have a player, they go farther, they die. They play another, they go another level, and they learn by doing so much more than we ever did. We learn by learning, and our old school learning. So I think us listening to this generation is so important. Because I know, like myself, I don't like the location-based stuff. I don't want you to know where I'm at all the time. I really don't. It bothers me. But as you said, that's what they like. They want, what kind of deal can I get when I go to the Target aisle? What can I do? I'm right here. What's the best restaurant? All those things. So we have to change to capture that audience.
I think this is really interesting because I was a teacher up until this last year. This is the first year in over 20 years I'm not going back to school. But yeah, trying to connect with those students and think like them, and everything is just so different. And then I've got a younger brother who's a sophomore in college, and even being around our farm and stuff, he's been working on our farm this summer, and after 2 weeks there, he's like, you know, I've been around here and stuff, but I had no idea what it was like to really work on the farm, and they don't. And so who was saying, creating that experience for them, you know, so they really feel like they're there, but I don't know. And then I've got a 3-year-old, well, he's 4 now, but when he was 3, he said, Mom, why don't we have a regular farm? And I said, what do you mean? And he's like, you know, with a cow to milk and one pig and some goats. And so